Rolex. Everywhere I go flex, valet park on some low shit. Whole lot of smoke in that Rory, that thing poke. Burning rubber, wearing cameras, they was undercovers. Under pressure, made statements turned on their brothers. Never judge you, but the streets will never love you. I wonder what it come to in your brain for you to run to. Ones to hate us, handcuff us and maces. Call us dumb niggas cause our culture is contagious. Third generation South Central gangbangers that live long enough to see it change. Think it's time we make arrangements. Finally wiggle out they mazes. Find me out in different places. When the spook by the door, this the infiltration. Double back dressed in blue laces. He was teaching health. I fuck with Rick Ross cause he teaching wealth. Dropped out of school, I'ma teach myself. Made my first meal on my own, I don't need your help. All black, Tom Ford, it's a special evening. City council meeting, they got hustle speaking. $1 billion project about to crack the cement. So one of our investments has become strategic. Summer 18, man, such a season. About to make my partners look like fucking genius. We was in the Regal, it was me and Steven. We done took a dream and turned it to a zenith. Anything I wanted, everything I needed. Gotta pace yourself, it's all about your baby. You can have it all, it's all about your race. I done took my name and carved it in the cement. On that shootout at the beach, 20 deep. You tried to squeeze, your gun jammed, and they released. Blood on your teeth, how many stains? I see 3. The bitch started to panic, so I made her switch seats. Driving there, police chopper here flying there. Really not too spooked, calmly ask me, am I dying now? All I know is keep you calm and collected. Cracking jokes like, nigga, now you gon' be finally respected. See your blood leaking, got my foot on this gas. Tossed the 40, we pull up to Daniel Free and see crash. You know the alibi. They started shooting, we was standing by. Ain't see nothing but the flare from the talents fly. I wasn't there, I was passing by. Matter of fact, don't say shit, I'm just gonna drop you in the back and slide. That's your weed, all the cash is mine. I take them both to the spot, plus your phone till you back online.
Yo, welcome to Let's Talk About It. This is your boy, the Black Kelly Sephiroth LeVar Hamilton Man on this Friday, January 24th, man, 2020. I want to wish everybody a good Friday, man. I know up here in Chicago, we got that iffy weather, man. Had a little snowstorm last weekend. But anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and touch bases, man. I want to give a shout out to everybody that attended the MLK ski weekend last week at Grand Geneva Resorts and Spas. Everybody that was up there, I had a great time myself. First part of the trip was actually driving up there But hey, it is what it is. Had some interesting conversations. I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Leon Rogers as well. As for the show, hey, I gotta do a solo, man. You know, a lot of people got stuff going on. We trying to get the crew back together. We will have the crew back together sooner than you think, man. We got specials lined up and so on. So I'm not gonna, bore you anymore. We're gonna dig right into the topics. The title of this show is Money, Power, and Respect. And we're gonna, we all love money. Everybody thrives to be respected. That's a mandatory thing. But we're gonna concentrate on power, man, because that's the show that we are all linked into. That's what we gravitate to. I ain't seen as many people use these many brain cells to figure out the end of Power, Book 1, as 50 Cent called it. That's number one. Oh, I'm sorry, before I go any further, be sure to for my YouTube listeners as well, because I'm also Facebook Live. Be sure to comment and subscribe at the links below. You can just check us out on Spreaker.com under Let's Talk About It. You can also look us up under YouTube, Let's Talk About It Shy. iHeartRadio, Let's Talk About It Shy. We got new promos, we got events coming up, the whole shebang, private interviews on Patreon.com, where we got a lot of exclusive one-on-one interviews with a lot of local and public celebrities alike. If you want to call into the show, feel free. You got 773-398. I'm sorry. I said 398. I'm sorry. 773-309-8692. I'm sorry. Got numbers mixed up in my head already. With that being said, we're going to jump right into power, man. Soon the new year hit. We already knew we had 5 more episodes. And in looking for the 5 episodes, we were really trying to figure out who shot Ghost. And we're like 3 episodes in now. And we've already ruled out 3 different possible suspects. And I think it was no surprise that we could rule these 3 characters out, because it was the first 3 shows that they appeared in. One of them was your boy Dre. Dre finally got his. Needless to say, he finally got his. And it was a long time coming. Another part of it was, was it Paz, Angela's sister? A lot of people, are iffy about that part as well. What else can we say? Oh yeah, and we know it wasn't Tommy. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people can really respect the way Tommy went out, and it's a lot of talk about, well, if Ghost said in the last episode, let her go or let it go. It's come to find out, through my own ears and my own common sense, he actually said it both. The first time, very low, very quietly, when Tommy was talking and going through his emotions initially, he said let it go, and then the next 2 times he was like, let it go, let it go. So with that being said, we're going to direct it towards who the last 4 characters. We got Sax, we got Tate, we got Tariq, and we also have Tasha. And we've seen the alternate endings for a whole lot of them. And feel free to call in with your opinions, 773-309-8692. 50 Cent this past week released the fact that there are multiple endings, and he did different ones. The most realistic one is the one with Tariq, and I think we all can kind of like jump on board and see kind of like where that's headed. Other than that, it gets a little tricky. It gets a little dicey, man, because you're trying to figure out who really shot this man. And to the very end, his heart was in a very loyal place. It was in the right places. So let's go by. Normally, when somebody dies, you have to have a motive. And by no means is this a spoiler alert, because I'm just like you guys. I'm looking at these shows, and it's coming to me, as we speak. But this is also a show where we're going to voice our opinions, give our opinions of what we think happened. I'm going to give you a couple conspiracy theories, because that's what I'm known for. And we're going to go from there. So we're going to start with the person who possibly has the most to gain from all of this, which is possibly Tariq. Ghost told him that if anything happened to him, that he gets everything by him being his son. And Tariq knew this. Tariq is no dummy. And with that being said, he went about everything in a very devious way, because it's like Tariq is just a sheltered kid who wants the street life, and that's just not his. That's just not his DNA. He kind of really needs to just scratch that whole idea as we speak. But he gets to stay out of jail, and and by him staying out of jail, it enables him to be the drug dealer that Ghost is, because Ghost actually did make something of himself, and he's being compared a lot to Ghost. And Tasha even enabled that his mindset and his behavior, saying he's doing things in a very idiotic way. And if he had a fraction of the game and knowledge of how to move everything, he could be better at it than Ghost ever was. So, but the thing he had hanging over his head was Ray Ray's murder. Let's face it. Tariq's first body, he called a cop. You know what I'm saying? And he had no idea how to cover up a body. It was all in rage. And he did leave DNA on the premises. So, I'm going to say this. I think it's fair to say Tariq shot Ghost. That he had the most to gain. Stay out of jail, get to be the next kingpin, and run the streets like he wants to under his mom's tutelage, and kind of just rebuild this whole brand from there. And give his mom back the life that Ghost actually took from her, because she never got on the same game plan when Ghost wanted to go legit. We're gonna move over to Tasha. Tasha was literally left with nothing. I could understand it from a certain point of view, where the ladies are like, well, he started out one way, then he changed. Okay, you ain't got a bunch of 80-year-old drug dealers out here who still run the streets and rule it. It's always somebody younger that's plotting and trying to take your place. That's how power has always been, and I'm going to take it a step further. If you go back to TV show history, I'm talking about real iconic TV shows. The Wire was the same way. It started out with Avon Barksdale, and then next thing you know, you had Omar that was robbing from the drug dealers. You had Stringer Bell who wanted to run everything. You had Prop Joe who was trying to run everything. You had the other guys that tried to come in and run everything. And then eventually it was Marlo. And Marlo came up. He was the smart one out the group. He plotted. He plotted. He did everything he was supposed to do. And then when it was time to get out the game, he got out the game. And he went legit, but he still had that thing about him. And he says something even in The Wire that resonates today, that lets you know about power. And I'm going to go into it a little bit later. He was like, long as he didn't tell them my name. Because once your name is out there, your name is burnt up. And nobody names their child Ghost. Everybody knows his name is James St. Patrick, but James St. Patrick is his name, but he goes by the street name as Ghost. And here's the thing about when you have a street name like Ghost, or some of the more iconic characters, it's just a nickname. Ghost is a nickname in the streets. It could be a different person behind the name of Ghost all the time, which kind of transitioned into Power Book 2, and it says Ghost. So I'm going to transition into this. My eventual thoughts about Power and how it's going to end. I think Tariq shot Ghost. I think him and his mom rolled up on him at the same time. I think Tariq shot Ghost because his anger for his dad transcended that heavy. I think Tate was in the room. I think Tate took Tasha and they escaped. I think Saxe went on a drinking binge, and I think he was at that party, much like Paz was. I think he was at that party, but he never went through anything like that. And I think the reason that he did a lot of drinking towards the end, and he had a gun and everything, I think he cut a backdoor deal with Ghost. And I think Ghost is still alive. Okay? Through the episodes I looked at first, one of the things is I've never heard of a will reading being read the day after you got shot. Your name is still flowing through the news. Your body's not even cold yet, and they're reading your will already. And disbursement of funds. That's number one. Number two, we have to enter the concept of he changed his paperwork. People go into protective custody all the time and change up identities. And Ghost knew that you got the feds and the lawyers breathing down his neck on cases and trying to pin stuff on him. Even after his background came back clean from when he first got nominated and the lady picked him. And I think it opened up the floodgates where it gave Tate his dreams of being of having the power and being a lieutenant governor. I also believe he knew that he had to take himself off the board and work behind the scenes and incognito under a different identity in order to get Tasha and Tariq on a straight and arrow to see the vision. Because as long as he was alive, Tasha was going to always look at him as being a drug dealer to make things happen. As long as he was alive, he was a physical reminder to Tariq that he can also go to street life and become just as successful as his dad. And there's a thing where when you kill somebody, something resonates with you. Have to live with that. And that's what Tommy also told Tasha when he killed his pops and a lot of other people he killed. He was like, you know what, Tasha, and this is why I think this is a large part of why he left Tasha alone. You killed your best friend. You will suffer more living with the fact that you killed your best friend than me killing you and taking you out your misery. And I think Ghost subconsciously did the same thing to Tariq. I don't think he's dead. There's a lot of different ways you can look at it. And I looked at the final episode, even when they featured it mainly around Ghost, how Ghost was shutting everything down at the Club Truth, and he was standing up top, and he was just patiently waiting. And I noticed that when he turned around, it was real slow, and I looked at his face, and it was real calculated. Now the end of the show is like we all planned. So what I take from that is Ghost is very much alive. I'm taking from the spinoff Power Book 2, Ghost. I'm thinking Ghost is still alive, but I think he's working under a different alias. I think he's working behind the scenes and running the drug game just as efficiently. And another thing, I looked at when Warner, the head lawyer in charge at the Fed building, the Democratic Party came in and got him up out that seat real quick. And that lets you know the power that they have. And I think Ghost, with somebody like Ramona in his corner, who is just as cutthroat, works behind the scenes, and just as slick and crafty as he is, I think he found his perfect match in a relationship mentally with a woman who has a killer instinct in her, but not in a violent way. Like, she knows how to make a situation go away in the most diplomatic form possible. And so, because look about it, when Tate got caught up with his side piece, with the married chick, he moved her on to a place where she could easily get in office, and she made that whole situation disappear, and called her the whole time they was having that discussion, signing out the paperwork. Even if you listen to the episode when Tommy was leaving town, Tate ended up being lieutenant governor. And I think it worked out for Tate. But you know what? If you go back to episode 11, Tate handed a new identity, new plates, new driver's license, new birth certificates to Dre to start his new life in Las Vegas when he was trying to skip town. What makes you think Gosling did the same thing to get these people off his back and to get everybody around him to let everybody go to find their own way in order to achieve greatness within himself? I mean, these are all serious factors you have to factor into the show. Because one of the leaked videos, and I'm taking one of the leaked videos and I'm applying it. They say Tariq has to get a 4-year degree. Tariq has to get a 4-year degree from a university, and he has to maintain, a 3.5 GPA and up, which means there's no time for the streets, before he can get his inheritance at a will reading. He also left Pa some money. He also left something for Tommy. He left something for Tommy's mama. And he willed a lot of his clubs and stuff to his kids. Now, anytime that you take public office, you have to renounce a lot of these things. When you run for public office, because you don't want no crossings of the funds and you don't want to be caught into anything illegal. So I've been looking and studying a lot about these backgrounds the last couple of days. Matter of fact, all week. I'm not going to sit here in front all week. And just been putting two and two together. So I would like to hear from you guys, man. What you think about power? I mean, we had a lot to dig into. Very little time to do it. And episode 14 comes on tomorrow. And with episode 14, we have like a lot, and I do mean a lot, to dig into. Okay, let me see. Succession plan. We should have more of it. Okay. All right, Miss Rebecca Howard. Thanks for tuning in. You got a good point. That goes a long way when it says every drug dealer has to have an exit strategy. Even when you look, I'm gonna go back. Every mob movie, it's always that one person that got out the game. That got out the game as clean as possible. I hate the one person you kind of feel the most sorry for is Tommy, because a lot of people say, well, I got to do this on my own. Tommy was so true to the game, and that's all he really had. And I can understand, you understood Tommy to the true nature, because all he ever asked was, give me the truth, give me the truth, give me the truth. And I think when it's something where your mom talks down and belittles you and chooses somebody else over you, where it really resonates and feels like, you know what, I'm all alone. And when you did find out you had a pops, your pops was going to sell you short so he can get out of jail. You had a girl, and you found out one girl they was both trying to sell ghosts up the river and mess up your flow, for whatever reason. Even with Nikisha, it was a little bit of envious there, where she didn't know the whole game, but she was too hard-headed, wanted to be the queen, be in charge. But she ended up signing papers when it came to her son, you're demanding a lot of things, but you didn't give a lot in return. In that situation, like soon as she was pressured and her son was at risk, she signed those papers so her son wouldn't get into the system, even though the cops didn't have no evidence on Tommy, outside of moving. Also goes into where Tommy could have been more forthcoming, said the house was in her name, this, that, and the other, and she wouldn't have felt as pressure. Like, a lot of things to think about. So that's one part. I think Tommy moved on to LA, started a shop somewhere else, and he's completely free of everybody else. And one of the things Ghost has said in all the episodes was Tommy had to start thinking. If Tommy would have started thinking about the outcome of a lot of things, him and Ghost would have made that much better of a team in the streets, because you have another legitimate mind helping you move this money and run the streets the way it needs to be run. Tasha tried to do the same thing even after the political backing, but the thing behind it, I got the previews going right now. But the thing was, she never fully got behind the idea of going legit. Tariq has been sheltered, and he, for whatever reason, has a hard on for trying to learn the nature of where his parents came from and how they grew up. But then he never looked at it like Kanan brought him in and set him down a path that really didn't lead to nothing. And at the end of the day, he set Kanan up to die. Like, Tariq is actually worse than Ghost. Let me say this. Let me tell you why. Ghost said Kanan got in the way of his dreams, but he loved him too much to kill him because he was like a father figure. He was like a brother to him. But so he set him up to go to jail instead of kill him. And Tasha was on the thing like kill him. She got into Tariq's head where to set him up when those wheels turned around the second time, and he actually went through setting Kanan up to get killed. And I want you guys to think about that for a second. What's another thing? Another person I feel bad for is Paz, but she's also dumb. She also is dumb as fuck if you ask me. I wish they actually did prequels or had an episode that focused solely on the nature of why they hated James St. Patrick so much growing up, and because it seemed like that family just hated him for whatever reason. I'm like, how can you hate Ghost without hating Tommy and Kanan first? And these the two guys that got the highest body counts. That's just my thought process. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm deep into Power, so I look at things overall view from multiple angles. As for Tate did a lot of plotting, and I think that's going to lead to Power 2 Ghost. I think Tate is linked up with like Mary J. Blige in some way, somehow. And I think you're going to get more of that backstory as the shows go on, because Tate is your new lieutenant governor as of right now. What's next? Which leads us to our boy Sax. I think Sax and Ghost cut a deal. I think Ghost is alive. I think he's under another alias. I think Sax helped him out with that. I think there was a lot of substantial evidence, whereas he was looking so hard in the direction of Ghost. I think Ghost got him to the side, convinced him that, hey, I kept you alive. We ain't killed you, this, that, and the other. I think he broke his situation down about where he can get him and kept his word. And that all the evidence eventually leads to Tasha with the Terry Silver murder, even though she didn't do it, but she did say where the body was. He found the phone. She was blowing up the phone. she was looking for him. So if you want to sit here and do a full investigation, you're going to find that Tasha actually went to Terry Silver's firm looking for him and putting on a very, very believable front. When it comes to the murder of Ray Ray, it was with her gun, and you have blood on the scene. And I think she would actually confess up to the murder to take the charge rather than Tariq to go down and go to jail. There was the sense of an earring, and you got neighbors, and a gun that points to her motive to keep James out the loop in terms of who killed Keisha. You already found one earring. Who's to say you ain't gonna find the next? Or they're gonna take a longer look at the evidence. You got a very smart detective on your hands right here, and she's very crafty. So it's a lot of things that just trade. And she's still doing dumb shit, selling drugs at the daycare. Okay. What's next? I think Ghost could deal with Stern and Sachs. Because if you remember in the past episode, when they was putting Angie body back in the ground, Sachs was the only one next to her. If you go back to episode 10, the lawyer that the black lady lawyer had told Sachs, you got to go turn yourself in because you're definitely going to do some jail time. And he was supposed to go turn himself in the next day, but he's right there with Paz burying the body. Something is not adding up on that end. And in conjunction with Warner losing his job, I think Sachs is going to be the next state's attorney that's going to hold that job. Another two names we don't want to sit here and dismiss. Whatever happened to Crystal Ball? He was working with Dre, but you know what? He can also keep a whole lot of the operation going. He knows how the club life goes. And ultimately, you work for James St. Patrick, or Ghost as we call it. You know, so you have somebody who knows your true identity. What else do we have? I think we pretty much covered it, you know, because it seemed like everybody kind of gets what they want. And I think Ghost really wanted his family to be on the up and up, and he looked after his family and his businesses. And I think he's making Tasha look at things from a legal standpoint in order to keep Tariq in check in order to get that inheritance. That's the way I play out. That's the way I see Power playing out. It's going to be very interesting to see how Power Book 2 Ghost plays out as well. I also said they had another spinoff. They got Power. They got Power Book. I think they're going to have the one with Kanan, and I know for certain they're going to have the one with Tommy, because Tommy went out to LA. He's setting up shop. He out there with the game and them shooting up everything. You know what I'm saying? He going to Raiders games and shit like that. You know, and I think Tommy is probably going to be worse in LA because Tommy has no loyalties at that point. With that being said, man, hey, give me your feedback. You got the comment, subscribe across YouTube. Didn't get no phone calls today. Was really looking forward to that because we was touching on Power. I know I'm going to have a lot of people that's going to wait till after the 4th episode to minimize so they could be more right than anything. But hey, I'm doing a lot of this off the top of my brain based on what I see. And another thing, I read a lot of books too. And anybody that knows me personally, hey, I watched Game of Thrones. I watched The Wire. I watched a lot of different TV shows. And I noticed when the ending of a show comes to pass, there in shows like this, nobody gets what they want. Like, there's always an odd twist. Like, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, everybody was like, oh man, Jon Snow should be king of all of the 7 kingdoms and stuff. But Jon Snow, even though he was the war hero, got the short end of the stick. So I just want people to keep that in mind when you watch Power. Like, something is not going to go according to plan. You never know. It could have very well been Saxe who shot Ghost to set everything off in motion. You know, you'll never know. Matter of fact, I wouldn't put it past him. It very well could have been Saxe. You know, Saxe had a hard on for Ghost to get him set up and to go to jail. And Ghost probably promised him some things like he promised 2-Bit. Hey, your family taken care of, man. If you just do this one job for me, when he got the burner phone and wanted to pop off Dre and got Dre transferred to the same spot. With that being said, hey, it's about that time. We're going to go ahead and try to wrap up the show. Any other time, I'll probably play some music, transition to another topic that goes off into sports. Well, matter of fact, I'll transfer over to sports because we got the Chiefs and the 49ers for the Super Bowl. Probably going to get the fellas in here next week so we can talk about this before Super Bowl Sunday and go from there. With that being said, my thoughts, I'm taking KC. It's going to be a close game, but this season and the way Patrick Mahomes is playing, the homeboy, the way he's playing, he's giving me that Aaron Rodgers Green Bay feel when Aaron Rodgers went on to win his only Super Bowl. Pittsburgh had the same game plan like San Francisco set up. It's just that you caught an amazing quarterback at the right time, and he's on a hot streak, and he's just going to take you on to the Super Bowl with these weapons. So it's going to be amazing to watch this football game. I'm really excited to watch it. There's going to be a lot of key matchups, but right now, I'm putting my money on KC. I think KC is going to win this football game, a really close football game. I think it's going to come down to like the last 4 minutes. And somebody's going to break away like that 3.5, 4 minute mark. Somebody's just going to break away. Truth be told, Mahomes has just been groomed. I think he's ready for that spotlight. Between him and Garoppolo, I think Mahomes gets it done in terms of key plays, making key scores, and getting on fire if that team ever gets hot. Jimmy G, I kind of question, like, you didn't pass the ball a whole lot. You know, you didn't pass the ball a whole lot in these playoff games. You look at Minnesota, yeah, you did your thing, but that was primarily the run, and you passed a little bit. You look at the game against Green Bay, I think you only passed 8 times. I think in the Super Bowl, you're going to have moments where you're going to have to make key third down passes. It's going to come down to that. And I think this is the absolute biggest stage that I think Mahomes is ready for. I question if Jimmy G is ready for it. So that's my pick. I'm going to reiterate that pick. You may never know. It may change after a week depending on injuries. But that's where I'm at. Until then, I want to give a shout out to the whole crew. Let's talk about a crew, man. You know, I got Eric Gooskiller. I got the Youngstown, Eric Gooskiller, Jatim Young. I got Corey C.L. Crockett, Antoinette, and I also got Nita Boo. We got some more things in place that we're trying to make plans for. We got, I think it's going to be something for All-Star Weekend up here. I got to get more details. Jatim told me about it, but I think I'm going to put that off for a week. Jatim really put it out there. He's getting a lot of stuff together for the meet and greets and so on. But in the meantime, hey, I got cigars I need to get to. I got drinks I need to get to. My brother's on vacation, so you know how that goes, man. But hey, until the next time, I'm gonna catch you guys later, man. Peace.